Welcome to a Powerless Mage Presence. This is the deep dive where we hand you the tools, the actual keys to unlock these fundamental concepts that are, secretly shaping your entire reality.
And if you're one of the millions of people who kind of look at your life, your relationships, and you just feel that nagging sense of dissatisfaction.
Right, that feeling that something is just off.
Exactly. If you know there has to be a better path for your own personal growth, or if you just feel fundamentally misunderstood by the people who are supposed to be closest to you,
Then you are absolutely in the right place today.
today we're taking on one of the most loaded, emotionally charged words there is, family.
And we're going way beyond the traditional definition, right? The one that's all about biology and obligation.
Way beyond. Our focus today is this incredibly powerful realization that a true family isn't defined by genetics. It's defined by the intentional fulfillment of core universal human needs.
That's really the mission here. We're providing you with a complete diagnostic framework. It's like a blueprint that not only shows you why some of your relationships feel so empty.
But more importantly, it gives you the map to recognize and to actually cultivate a healthier, more intentional social unit around yourself.
It's about building a true support system, one that's designed for your growth, not just one you were born into.
And we call this framework the 7 sources. It's derived from interpretations of some really deep psychological knowledge, specifically around a concept known as the abandonment mark.
Okay, the abandonment mark.
It sounds intense, I know, but it basically explains the very origin of our needs and how that origin story dictates who we seek out in our lives.
So let's just unpack this right away, because I think this is the revolutionary idea. What if the people you feel obligated to call family, the ones who share your last name, what if they're actually preventing your growth?
Or providing you with a distorted, even toxic kind of support?
Exactly. And what if the things you desperately need to thrive are actually being provided by people you currently just think of as, strangers, or maybe just colleagues at work?
That shift in perspective, that right there is the key we want to put into your hand today.
You really don't have to look very far to see the old traditional definition of family just crumbling under its own weight.
Oh, absolutely. We've all seen it. The social media trends, the articles.
The constant redefining of family, that old, 1950s nuclear ideal is basically gone. Now, we include non-blood relative, chosen families, mentors, colleagues.
It's about people who show up for you, not just people who are genetically linked to you.
And this is a direct response to a fundamental truth, isn't it? Genealogy does not automatically equal emotional or psychological fulfillment.
Not at all. Life is messy. So many people are raised by aunts, grandparents, or guardians who aren't related to them at all. And sometimes a sibling provides far more of the critical elements than a parent ever does.
Okay, so we have this profound realization: genealogy doesn't make a family. And a lack of a blood relationship doesn't exclude someone from being family. But that leaves this massive, unanswered question just hanging in the air.
Richard?
What fundamentally makes a person part of your family? What's the actual structure?
The answer is found when we trace our needs all the way back to their origin point. And that's where this concept of the abandonment mark comes in.
Okay, so break that down for us in simple terms.
To put it simply for, the everyday listener, the abandonment mark is the initial psychological shock that happens very early in life. It's when we first realize, maybe not even consciously, that we absolutely cannot sustain ourselves.
We're completely dependent.
Completely. We realize there's this existential void, a space of needs that we cannot fill on our own.
That's intense. It's that core realization that if our primary caregiver just walks away, we starve.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but emotionally. It's the fear of that void.
Exactly. And that realization creates a desperate, instinctual search for external sources that can fulfill those needs. In our early development, we create all these physical and psychological demands based on values we are inherently unable to provide for ourselves.
So we start looking outside of ourselves.
Always. We seek these external sources of value, and how we receive them or fail to receive them, that profoundly defines our behavior, our attachments, our entire perception of the world.
So the search for family is, at its core, the lifelong attempt to heal or maybe compensate for that initial abandonment mark.
You've got it. And if the mark is the void, then the 7 sources are the building blocks, the tools that we are perpetually seeking to fill that void and ensure our survival and our growth.
So this framework distills all those possible values down to 7 clear, manageable sources. Let's start breaking them down one by one.
These are the universal needs we are all instinctually looking for. Number one is affection.
Affection.
This is the foundation. It provides love simply for the fact that you exist. It is completely unconditional presence and acceptance.
So it's not tied to performance at all.
Zero. Think of it as pure acceptance. It's someone just holding your hand while you cry without saying a word, without trying to fix it. That's affection.
Got it. What's number two?
Number two is support. This is the practical help. It provides the assistance we need for survival and for navigating all the different moments and challenges in our lives.
So this is the person who drives you to the airport or helps you move house?
Exactly. They co-sign a loan. Support facilitates action in the world.
Okay. Number three.
Comprehension. This is the act of being seen and validated. It acknowledges our internal state, our feelings, our thoughts, and it validates their worth. It's that feeling of being truly heard.
Can you give an example?
Of course. If you say, I'm so stressed about this presentation, comprehension doesn't say, don't be. It says, I understand why that would be stressful. Those stakes are really high.
It validates the feeling.
I see. Number four is pleasure. This provides positive stimulation and comfort. It's often physical, a hug, a pleasant touch, sharing a good meal, or just being in a safe, beautiful environment. It's the nonverbal confirmation that the world can be a comfortable place.
Okay. Number five.
Inspiration. This one is aspirational. It provides the values, customs, and behaviors that we align with our desired self. It reflects the growth and the virtues we want for ourselves.
So this would be like a mentor whose ethics you want to embody.
Perfectly put. Or an athlete whose discipline you admire. That's inspiration.
What's next?
Number six is knowledge. This is purely functional. It provides data and information about our culture and the world, and it teaches us how to apply that information effectively and contextually.
So learning how to file your taxes.
Or understanding the history of your community or developing a complex skill at work. That's all knowledge.
And the last one, number seven.
Recognition. This acknowledges our existence, our worth, and the value we bring into the world. It's shown by celebrating our effort, our presence, and our improvements.
So it's not just about winning.
No, that's a key distortion we'll get to. True recognition says, I see the hard work you put in, and that effort matters regardless of the outcome.
I really appreciate that clarity because it immediately shows that just giving affection isn't enough to build a whole functioning person.
Yeah.
You can be loved unconditionally.
But still lack the tools to survive, the support. And that distinction is crucial. We also have to distinguish between the universal and the culturally defined sources.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Affection, support, and pleasure are truly universal and culture-free. Every single human being needs comfort, help, and unconditional love, no matter where they're born.
But the other four, comprehension, inspiration, knowledge, and recognition, they're universal in their structure, but their content is shaped by culture.
Precisely. Take knowledge. In one culture, essential survival knowledge might be how to read animal tracks.
And in another, it's how to code software.
Exactly. Both are knowledge, but the application is cultural. Likewise, what symbolizes recognition. For a kid, it might be a gold star on their homework.
For a spiritual person, it might be earning the respect of the elders in their community.
You've got it. The need for recognition is universal, but the symbol of it is cultural.
Now, here's a massive takeaway that I think really manages expectations. The source material stresses that it is highly unusual for a single person to fulfill all 7 of these sources at the same time.
It's almost impossible. And trying to find one person, especially a romantic partner, who checks all 7 boxes is often a source of enormous relationship disappointment.
It just creates this impossible burden.
An impossible burden. We are designed to form a network of providers. However, the most important roles in what we define as our family, the crucial anchors, they often provide multiple sources at the same time.
A good parent, for example.
A good parent, ideally, is providing affection, support, pleasure, and knowledge all at once day after day. And when that key figure is absent, the loss feels so profound because you haven't just lost one person.
You've lost a whole cluster of vital daily sources.
Exactly.
This framework isn't just theory, it's a tool for immediate diagnosis. So we invite you, right now, to use it. Think about the people closest to you, your parents, your partner, your friends, your boss.
Thinking about the people closest to you right now, which of these 7 sources are you currently seeking from them, and which sources do you find missing in your life?
And if you realize, that 2 or 3 sources are consistently missing, you now have a name for that void. And you know what you need to start intentionally seeking out.
Now that we know what we're seeking these 7 sources, let's look at how we seek them throughout our lives, because this isn't a random process. It follows a predictable, instinctual pattern that's designed to prepare us for independence.
We are instinctual creatures, after all.
Absolutely. From the moment of our first breath, we start searching for providers to deal with that abandonment mark. And the first people who provide these sources, they take on the roles of the mother and father figures.
Okay, this needs a deep explanation, because the definition you're using is based on archetype and biological necessity, not social tradition.
Correct. This is strictly about seeking the fundamental psychological functions of the male and female archetypes.
So the mother archetype.
The mother archetype is typically the one who provides the initial foundation of safety. They provide those universal, culture-free sources. They deal with the child's internal world, the emotions, the bodily needs, the absolute bedrock of existence.
And the father archetype is the bridge to the external world.
Exactly. They provide the cultural sources, the rules, the knowledge, the inspiration that you need to interact with society.
And crucially, if your biological mother was absent, an aunt, a grandmother, or even a teacher who provided that internal foundational safety, she became your mother figure.
Regardless of her social title, it is all about function, not labels. And that function shifts across 5 predictable stages of life.
Okay, let's walk through them.
Stage 1, infancy. This is from newborn to about 7 years old. The child is primarily focused on getting the 7 sources from the mother figure.
And the emphasis is on those universal needs.
Heavy emphasis. Affection, support, comprehension, and pleasure. This is the period where the basic belief in safety, acceptance, and comfort is established. If this stage is healthy, the child internalizes the belief, I am safe and my existence is valued.
So what happens in stage 2?
Stage 2, childhood. This is roughly 8 to 14 years old. The psychological focus shifts outward toward mastering the world. The tendency now is to seek the sources primarily from the father figure.
And the emphasis shifts to those cultural values.
Right. Inspiration, knowledge, and recognition. This is the time for learning boundaries, developing skills, and understanding social rules. If this stage goes well, the child internalizes, I know how the world works, and my effort will be recognized.
And then comes stage 3, adolescence.
Stage 3, adolescence. This is from about 15 to 24. This is the huge psychological transition to adulthood. The need for individuality is paramount. The adolescent has to test all the collected values and knowledge they got in the first 2 stages.
Often by, disassociating from their parents, pushing back.
They have to, and I see the dynamic shift here. We move from the family structure to external validation. The tendency is to seek all 7 sources, primarily in friendships and peer groups.
So this stage is supposed to provide the friction you need for real integration.
It is. A 17-year-old doesn't want their parents' knowledge about dating. They want their friends' knowledge. They test the ethical inspiration they got from their parents against the reality of their peer group.
And if the values hold up, they truly integrate them. They become their own.
And if they fail, they are meant to be replaced. That's the whole point. Which brings us to stage 4.
Partnership.
Stage 4, partnership. This happens post-adolescence. The focus shifts to romantic relationships, but it's important to note this stage is optional. It depends on what the source calls the vocation for couple.
A vocation for couple. So that just means a deep, inherent desire to prioritize a lifelong partnership as the main vehicle for growth and for giving.
Exactly. And if the individual has this vocation, the partner becomes the primary provider of the 7 sources and, critically, the main teaching ground. It's where you learn how to give the sources effectively, which prepares you for the next stage.
And the final stage, also optional.
Stage 5, giving back. The new generation. This depends on the vocation for family. If the individual chooses to start a family, they transition to primarily providing the 7 sources, ensuring the cycle continues in a healthy way.
But the framework flags a specific massive failure point here. And I think this explains so much of the dissatisfaction we see in the modern world. It's the disruption that happens if the sources were inadequate in stages 1 and 2.
This is where it gets particularly insightful. If those foundational needs were unmet or severely distorted, the individual often gets psychologically frozen in stage 3. They become what the source material labels the eternal adolescent.
The eternal adolescent. Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Why can't the person who is now a capable adult just return to the original parent and say, hey, I need affection now. Can you provide it healthily? Why is the source so adamant that the disruption can't be healed by going back to the original source?
That is an excellent and necessary question. The source material is very clear on this. The gap cannot be healed by the original source because the recipient's perception is permanently distorted by the original wound.
So it's not about the parent's current intent.
Not at all. If the parent gave distorted support when they were young, maybe it was laced with criticism or shame, the adult child will only perceive shame or manipulation from that same parent now, even if the parent is genuinely trying to give healthy support. The old emotional programming just overrides the new attempt.
Wow. So the eternal adolescent is stuck perpetually practicing these malformed or incorrect values they picked up because they never successfully tested healthy ones.
And they continue to seek the sources they missed in childhood, often in really destructive ways. Maybe they're seeking inappropriate recognition from strangers online or unhealthy affection in a series of fleeting relationships.
It creates this perpetual cycle of dissatisfaction.
It does. And this is the empowering solution that the framework offers. This disruption can only be healed by obtaining values from other sources, from new people, new relationships, new mentors who are genuinely interested in the individual's current well-being, totally separate from the history of the original family.
But that requires a lot of courage. It requires the individual to take radical responsibility, to accept that the flawed values they've been operating under are useless, and to actively replace them with new, growth-oriented ones.
It is the ultimate act of self-determination. It means you have the power to curate new providers, a new family, to fix the foundational gaps that were left.
It's a conscious construction of an intentional, functional family network.
Precisely.
Understanding where you are in this cycle is so crucial. So let's reflect on this turning point. Thinking about your own journey, when you were in that 15 to 24 age range, did you successfully test your values and integrate them? Or do you find yourself stuck, still seeking certain fundamental sources you missed earlier, perhaps repeating the same relational patterns over and over?
Moving into part 3, we really need to talk about calibration. This is not just about having the 7 sources, it's about getting the right amount.
Like vitamins. Too much or too little is damaging.
Exactly. And this framework becomes an incredibly powerful diagnostic tool for identifying toxicity, whether it's coming from a parent, a partner, or a friend. The way we receive these sources defines our entire worldview and our behavior.
We talked about the example of support too much makes you helpless, too little makes you resentful. Let's expand on that. Let's take recognition, since that's so tied up in modern performance culture. What happens with an imbalance there?
Okay, recognition. If a person receives too much recognition for minor things, for just showing up, or for minimal effort, they develop a really distorted sense of their own competence.
They expect high praise for low output.
Right. And this makes them incredibly brittle when they face real criticism. It can lead to massive arrogance and a total inability to handle failure.
And if they receive too little recognition,
that leads to a profound insecurity and often this hyper need for external validation. They might overperform, seeking out these huge dramatic achievements, but they never internalize their own worth.
or they just stop trying.
Or they stop trying altogether, convinced their efforts will never be seen or valued anyway. The right amount of recognition focuses on celebrating effort and improvement, which build intrinsic motivation.
Let's do another one. What about comprehension? This is all about validation.
If a child or an individual receives too much comprehension, meaning excessive emotional validation without any grounding in reality, they can become emotionally hypersensitive. They become incapable of dealing with hard truths.
So every small disappointment becomes a major crisis.
A total crisis. Because their feelings were always treated as the absolute truth rather than just one piece of the reality of the situation.
I see. And if there's too little comprehension?
That creates an emotional stoic. Someone who suppresses their feelings because they learned very early on that their internal state was irrelevant or even a burden to other people.
And they become disconnected from their own emotional landscape.
Which leads to huge difficulties in forming deep, trusting relationships later in life. Again, the goal is the right amount validation, but paired with reality.
And this brings us back to that really common, painful situation. The transmission gap. The communication failure where what's intended and what's received just don't line up.
Like the father giving support with math homework that the son perceives as humiliation.
Right.
The problem with the transmission gap isn't just a miscommunication, it's that the failure of reception creates a wound. And the only way to bridge that gap, as we said, is by pairing the primary source with comprehension.
That's such a powerful insight for anyone in a caregiving role. You can't just give the solution, which is support. You have to first validate the difficulty, which is comprehension.
I see you're struggling. That looks really hard. Let's work through this together.
That changes the psychological reception instantly.
Instantly. Now let's explore how external forces corrupt these sources, creating this deep systemic dissatisfaction we see all around us today. We have to talk about the corruption of modern values, wealth, beauty, and confidence.
This analysis is fascinating because it shows how societal influence can literally hijack our fundamental needs. How did wealth go from being about a survival resource to becoming about greed?
It started the moment consumption became tied to identity. Wealth, which originally served to provide resources and improvement, was corrupted by the creation of artificial, endless needs.
Right. Marketing, external validation.
Society tells us that basic survival isn't enough. We need more, faster, newer things to be happy. This shift turns the healthy pursuit of resources into competitive greed, which hurts both the individual's peace of mind and other people in the process.
We're seeking support and pleasure through wealth, but we just end up feeling empty.
Exactly. And what about beauty? It was supposed to be about creating a pleasant environment, but now it's a rigid requirement.
How did that happen?
Beauty, which is the pursuit of pleasant surroundings and sensory comfort, a form of pleasure, it became corrupted the moment the external physical form became the sole indicator of a person's worth.
We're just bombarded by images of unattainable perfection.
All the time. An extreme form of pleasant environment that is actually a digital fabrication. This turns the natural appreciation for beauty into a requirement for acceptance. And those who fail to conform are subjected to social rejection and bullying.
And then they seek unhealthy recognition and affection to try and compensate.
It's a vicious cycle. And then there's the subtle corruption of confidence, which has actually reduced skills. This is a huge insight into the current workforce and education system.
Talk more about that.
Absolutely. Confidence used to mean certainty in your decisions, and it was built on a foundation of proven skills and effort. It was a combination of knowledge and recognition.
It was earned.
It was earned. But through movements promoting instant gratification and, blanket participation awards, we have elevated the feeling of confidence above actual competence.
People are told, just believe in yourself.
Without the necessary effort to build the skills. This results in individuals who falsely believe they're good enough without hard work, and it creates this profound frustration when reality inevitably clashes with their unfounded self-belief. They're getting distorted recognition without the necessary knowledge or inspiration.
This makes identifying your true family versus a toxic family absolutely essential. If these values are corrupted, the providers of those values are toxic, even if they share your DNA.
The true family consists of those people who provide the 7 sources in a way that enables you to be your authentic, unique, self-loved, and valued by society because you are healthy and contributing.
And toxic members.
Toxic members, regardless of their relationship to you, are those who consistently provide sources that prevent your growth, create dissonance, or reinforce these corrupted values.
And the source material is very direct about this. Toxic members must be removed from your definition of family by not accepting the sources they provide.
You have the right to refuse a poisoned source.
So your genealogy is not a license for abuse or manipulation.
Not at all. You can't control what they transmit, but you have absolute control over what you choose to receive. You have to put up the necessary psychological boundaries and then go seek healthy sources somewhere else.
But the danger isn't just from toxic family. It's also the danger of strangers. When people are lonely or they're stuck in that eternal adolescent phase, they become desperate for sources and often seek them in these passive, unquestioned places.
Right. Just think about the amount of recognition, knowledge, and inspiration people seek from anonymous, passive sources, influencers, endless news feeds, fictional characters.
We don't stop to question if these sources are actually beneficial to our growth.
Or if they only serve the platform or the person providing them, often at our own expense.
The example of internet dares is perfect for this. A dare offers immediate, high-octane recognition. You did the crazy thing.
But it actively lacks knowledge understanding the risk. And it lacks comprehension, validating your true needs. And it inspires recklessness and apathy towards consequences.
It's a distorted source.
A deeply distorted source. And we have to be precise with our terms here. A stranger is someone who offers unquestioned influence that conflicts with your essential values and your well-being.
But an outsider.
An outsider, conversely, is simply someone who isn't related by blood, but who might offer immensely beneficial, healthy sources. We have to overcome the fear of outsiders and consciously invite people into our family dynamic who prioritize our well-being.
The final reflexive moment for this section is really a call to vigilance.
Yes. When receiving advice or values, are you questioning the source to ensure they are helping you become your true self? Or are you absorbing them blindly, potentially allowing a stranger to dictate your growth and perpetuate corrupted values?
So what does this all mean for daily life? We've defined the 7 sources, we understand the flow, we know about distortion. Now we have to move from theory to practical application. We need the diagnostic questions.
This is the intentional family checklist.
Exactly.
This is the practical key. You should use these questions on everyone in your life: your spouse, your parents, your boss, your best friend. The answers will give you immediate clarity on their function and their suitability as a source provider.
Okay, let's run through them one last time, making sure the questions really diagnose the quality of the source. For affection, we have to confirm that it's actually unconditional.
You must ask yourself, does this person love me unconditionally? And then, to test for conditions, you ask, does this person demand anything? Time, money, loyalty, attention in exchange for that affection?
And if there are strings attached.
If there are strings attached, it's not pure affection, it's a transaction, and you should adjust your expectations accordingly.
Okay, next up is support. We established that healthy support leads to growth, not dependence.
So we ask, can I survive without the specific help I receive from this person? This tests if you are capable on your own. Then, the more important question, can I grow without the help I receive?
And if the answer is no.
If the answer is no, the support might be creating an unhealthy dependence. That's an excess of the source. True support facilitates future independence.
Got it. For comprehension, this is about validation and helping organize our internal world.
Right, so you ask, does this person know how I feel and why I feel it? Does this person empathize with me? And most critically, because comprehension is active, not passive, does this person help me sort out my thoughts and my internal state so that I can move forward?
Okay. And pleasure. Testing for genuine comfort.
You ask, does this person's general presence make me feel genuinely good and safe? And regarding the physical or sensory side, does this person's demonstration of affection, their touch, the environment they create, does it create positive sensations in me? Or do I just accept them out of a sense of obligation?
That's a tough question to be honest about.
It is, but it's essential.
Okay, inspiration. This confirms alignment with our desired future self.
The questions here are all about modeling behavior. Ask yourself, do I want to imitate this person's behaviors, their ethics, their character? And do I feel that their actions are aligned with the kind of person I want to be in 5 or 10 years?
And if their life choices feel dissonant with your goals, they're not a source of beneficial inspiration.
Not for you, no. Then we have knowledge. Is the information practical and applicable?
So you test their contribution to your competence.
Exactly. Is this person helping me learn new things that increase my capability? And is this person helping me develop new, measurable skills that allow me to navigate my world better?
Finally, recognition. Do they validate the effort, not just the win?
The key question is, does this person recognize and value the work and effort of the thing I do, regardless of the outcome? And does this person celebrate my victories and my improvements? If they only recognize the final outcome, the source is distorted. It needs to be focused on the journey.
This checklist provides immediate clarity. But let's talk about the next step. What happens if I use this and I realize, for example, that my spouse provides incredible support and affection, but zero inspiration? Do I have to leave the relationship?
Absolutely not. That's a misunderstanding of the tool. The diagnostic tool is not a weapon for termination, it's a map for sourcing.
Okay, a map for sourcing.
If you realize your spouse doesn't provide inspiration, you now know that you need to intentionally seek that source elsewhere. Perhaps from a mentor, a community leader, or even just an external hobby that challenges you.
So the goal is to build a functional network, not to demand that one person has to do everything.
Exactly. You compensate for the deficiency by curating a provider for that specific missing source.
That reframes the entire purpose of this deep dive. It's all about building resilience and intentionality.
The final synthesis is simple and liberating. The more a person contributes to providing these 7 sources in a healthy, non-distorted way that enables your growth and your independence, the more important they become as a family member, regardless of their title.
You have the power to define who belongs in your deepest support structure.
Yeah.
You now have the full diagnostic key. Use it.
Using these questions as a guide, identify one person in your life you previously considered a stranger, or maybe just a mere acquaintance, but who consistently provides one or more of these sources for your well-being. especially a source you now realize was missing from your traditional family structure. How will you intentionally acknowledge their vital role in your life moving forward?
We've taken a monumental deep dive today. We've moved from the obligation of biology to the empowerment of intentional needs fulfillment. We understand the psychological origin of our search, the abandonment mark. We diagnosed the cycles of life, and we identified the distortions of modern toxic values.
You now have the fundamental knowledge to define and cultivate a real, growth-oriented family. This framework empowers you to move beyond feeling perpetually stuck or dissatisfied. You are the architect of your own support system.
Don't simply take our word for it. Put everything you heard here to the test. Make this knowledge truly yours.
Remember, the power is yours.